Hello and welcome. I'm Skalsky, a member of our IT marketing and training team here at NAU Country. In this training video, I'll be going over the new way to bring actual production history data into EASYwriter Pro. This can now be done through import. Additionally, with this new functionality, we have added the ability to key in or import in production data from scale tickets and assign to units as a separate step at a later time. Let me start by showing you the new production import feature and process. As you can see, I'm in my policy in EASYwriter Pro, and I'll go ahead and endorse it. And I'll select the Acreage APH tab. So now I can either select the scale icon located here in the Units section, or I can click the Quick APH icon at the top of the window, and I can select the Production Import option that also has the scale icon. In either location, if I select this option, it's going to go ahead and bring me into the Production Import Units selection screen. And this is where you find the import option along with other options. Let's go over the toolbar now. Here you can see a standard save option. There's a discard changes option. There's an add option that's going to allow you to add additional blank lines for manual keying. There's this delete selected option that will allow you to select lines that need to be removed. And then this batch option. This must be used to correctly select the coverage for data you will import or manually enter here. Then next door to that, you have the Excel option. This is the new import option. And then next to that, you have the assign option, which will allow you to bulk assign your production data to units. So let me go over the Excel import feature, which does require me to have my production data organized into a spreadsheet, which I have. Now to start, I must confirm the batch coverage matches the crop to record production. Now you can change the selection by accessing the batch drop-down menu here. This will prevent the wrong crop production from being associated with the wrong unit. I'll leave this selected to corn since I'm bringing in corn data. So now I'll select the Excel button and the import options screen is going to appear, where I need to go ahead and select this magnifying glass icon that will let me browse out and find my spreadsheet. Once I've selected my spreadsheet, you will see the worksheet option will default to the first sheet in the spreadsheet. If you've selected a multi-page spreadsheet, you can use the drop-down menu to select a different sheet to import if needed. I'll go ahead and click OK. Now that we're in the Production Import Templates screen, the first time you're in this screen, you need to utilize this option, Add Template. A template is a tool used during the import process to filter the data needed from your spreadsheet to ensure the correct production data pulls into the system. I need to click Add and give my template a name and select OK. Now I can see the template appears over on the left under the Import Template screen. You can reuse these templates, but you can also update them at any time and save your changes, or you can also use the delete option to delete old templates. So now I need to enter in the Import Template Details information in this area of the screen. Under Name, this is pulled in from the last step, but let's talk about the other settings, starting with the header settings. Now, in order to explain this, as I go, I'm going to pull up my spreadsheet that I've attached to import. Okay, so here you can see the header information is included on my spreadsheet. This is not technically required for import, but since I have it included, here I have to tell the system where my headers start and where they end. So since my headers start in row 2, they also end in row 2, I will put 2 in both of these settings under header. Now let's explain where the data begins. So I have to indicate the first row number where my production data begins on my spreadsheet. Let's take a look again. And I can verify that my data does indeed begin on row 3. So I'm going to put 3 here under beginning data, first row number is 3. Now next I have to explain the ending data. Basically, the system needs to know where on my spreadsheet the production data ends. So the default setting here is end of file, as you can see. Now this will work fine for my particular spreadsheet that I'm importing today. However, if your spreadsheet contains other data, let's say a row with totals in it, this is not information to import, so you would want to use one of these other listed options to explain to the system where your data stops on your spreadsheet. So I could either use the column is blank option, or I could use the column contains text option. With both of these additional options, you will see you have additional information to key in to fully set up this selection. But again, in my case, the default setting of end of file will work just fine. Now we can see that the associated spreadsheet columns to user-defined data section, this area here, has been populated with information from my spreadsheet. Now the information from my spreadsheet basically populates here in more of a vertical visual representation, and on my spreadsheet, of course, it was more horizontal. So let me again pull up my spreadsheet and explain as I go. If you look over here, you can see in EASYwriter Pro, the first section, Spreadsheet Columns. This will display from my spreadsheet both header name and column alias. So you can see here under header names, those are clearly pulling in from my row 2 in my spreadsheet. So you see tickets, production, FSN, and you see that mirrored over here to the left. Now, column aliases are also pulling in from Excel. So A, B, and C, you can see that here, A, B, and C. Moving over to Data Preview, you will see the first 3 rows of actual data on my spreadsheet. Now remember that where the row number 1 begins here actually correlates directly up to where I told in this setting EASYwriter Pro where my data began, which I state here is row 3. So you can see here row 3 on my spreadsheet calculates over here to row 1 in EASYwriter Pro in this screen. So that is what's listed there in that column row 1, and then row 2 information correlates to technically row 4, and then row 3 correlates to row 5. So that's actually looking all correct for me. Last thing we need to do is work here under the user-defined column where it says type of data. For every single column from my spreadsheet, I need to go here. This is actually a drop-down, and I need to select do not import, map it as notes, as production, or ticket number. This basically defines how or if each column will be imported and how it will be labeled later. The only required data technically in the process is production. But since I want to import all the listed columns of data, I'm going to go ahead and for each of these, starting off with the tickets information, I'm going to go ahead and map that down here in the drop-down to ticket number. Next up is production, and of course, I can map that very easily to the production option in the drop-down. Then last is my FSN details from my spreadsheet. Now you'll see here in the drop-down that there isn't an exact match for that. So I'm going to go ahead and map that as notes so that the system will bring it in and essentially label this as notes. Now when you're working in this screen at any time, you of course can choose to save your template. But when you're completely ready to move on, go ahead and click the Import Using Template icon. And just like that, we've imported our data. Now here in the Production Import Unit Selection screen, there are additional options as well that we can work with. So let's go over those now. Starting off with the Add option, which will allow you to add a blank line to do manual keying of data. Now as always, you want to go ahead and confirm that the batch selection is correct, and then go ahead and click the Add option. Now, since I don't actually need to key in anything manually here, I can go ahead and just select this line over on the left-hand side, and then I can select the Delete Selected option. Once data has been imported or keyed into this window, you will now be able to assign your production to a unit. Now, you can also save the data here and come back later. Again, to save your work, there is a Save button, and then all I need to do is to X out of this screen. At a later time, if I want to go back and do this, I can come here and I can go ahead and select the production import icon. Or remember, you can go to the quick APH screen and also find this option. But I'll just select it here, and our information is right as it was. To assign your imported or manually keyed data to a unit, simply select the checkboxes next to the production data lines, and then go ahead and use the Assign option. In the dropdown, you will see all available units for your coverage to assign to your production data. Or you can also do this one line at a time by selecting the drop-down option found under Units. By going here, it's going to go ahead and pop up a screen that is also going to show you your available units with additional information, like practice, type, share percent, etc. Again, here you simply select your unit. Now, once a unit is selected, the unit information will populate and the window will begin below here to divide the production data by unit. It will also provide a running total on the production entered for each unit. Don't forget, you can also manually add more production data lines just by selecting the Add icon. Once your production data lines are keyed, you can X out of this window at any time. Simply hit the Save button and then X out. Now at that point, if your data was assigned to a unit, it will be added to the APH for that unit. If the data was not assigned to a unit, it will still be in this screen for you to come back and update at a later time. Well, this brings us to the end of this training video. We hope you find the production data import and associated functionality to be helpful. Thank you for tuning in. If you have questions, please reach out to your marketing rep, underwriter, or our team by emailing itmarketing@naucountry.com.